2025 has been the year of the short semi-auto 12-gauge firearm. Before 2025, the market had one option that was seemingly out of production, the Remington TAC-13. This year, the market brought us the 990 Aftershock and the IWI Mafteah. The two are bound to draw some comparisons, and as someone who has both, I wanted to compare and contrast the two guns to see if one was better. Now, I label this as a versus piece, but I'll give you the bottom line up front. Both guns are solid, well-made, and reliable. You'd be well served by one or the other. This is less of a verse and more of a comparison of their subtle differences in ergonomics, design, and performance at the range. The biggest difference between these two guns is their operating systems. The 990 Aftershock uses a gas-operated design. Now, this is not the 940 gas system, which wouldn't work with a pistol grip-only gun because it requires a buffer. The gas system on the 990 is contained entirely under the handguard. The gas system is nothing revolutionary. It's fairly simple. A port from the barrel bleeds off gas, which hits a ring, which slams into a set of action bars, and sends the bolt backwards. Now, as the bolt goes rearward, it ejects the spent casing, resets the hammer, and then is pulled forward by a spring, which loads the next round and closes the action. The Mafteah uses an inertia-operated design. IWI calls it a recoil-operated system, and I did the same in my original video. Ivan Prince Gun stopped by the comment section and gave a full rundown on why I was wrong and how the design works. While it's different in orientation compared to a Benelli inertia system, it's still the same overall idea and design. So a comparison between these two guns kind of comes down to gas-operated versus inertia-operated, and that's a conversation that's been spelled out all over the internet for years and years. Each system tends to have its pros and cons. The gas-operated design has less recoil and tends to be more reliable with lighter loads. The downsides can include price, sensitivity to barrel length, a heavier weight, and a tendency to get dirtier, requiring more cleaning more often. Just like your mom. Inertia-operated guns are lighter, they are less reliant on barrel length for proper cycling, and they're simpler overall. Simpler means cheaper. They don't get as dirty, and they don't get as fouled up during extended range sessions. The downsides are more recoil and greater ammo sensitivity. Now, these operating systems do affect some of the design features. So the Aftershock has a 14.75-inch barrel and an overall length of 27.125 inches. So that slightly longer barrel is necessary to build up enough gas pressure to cycle the action reliably. Now, I originally thought the Mafteah was a little bit shorter because the barrel is only 14 inches long, but the Mafteah does have a slightly longer receiver and the overall length is 27.75 inches. So it's just slightly longer. The Mafteah weighs 5.69 pounds and the Aftershock weighs 6.04 pounds. The Aftershock is a little front heavy due to the gas piston design, and the Mafteah is fairly well balanced. Both are 12-gauge firearms, and they have to maintain a length of over 26 inches to avoid being any other weapons and subject to the NFA. Both guns can hold 5 2.75-inch rounds, but both can handle up to 3-inch shells. Neither can reliably cycle mini shells, so we got that covered. Both the Aftershock and Mafteah take inspiration from the modern era of semi-auto shotguns. This means large and easy-to-access controls. We get a great big charging handle that sticks out pretty far from the gun. It's easy to grab, rip, and go. The bolt releases are massive and easy to press, and the loading ports are beveled just slightly to make reloading easier. Both guns also feature a bird's head style pistol grip, but each of these pistol grips is a little different. There are some notable differences. IWI isn't a dedicated shotgun company, and I think that allows them to think outside of the box. The Mafteah comes with a reversible charging handle, like most modern rifles. As a right-handed shooter, I love that I can swap the charging handle to the left side of the receiver. This allows me to manipulate the gun without breaking my firing grip. Now, the Aftershock does just come with a fixed right side charging handle. It's fine, it works, and most shotguns have that. What the Aftershock has that I love is the Mossberg Tang style safety. And this works exceptionally well with the bird's head grip. While the Mafteah uses a large push button safety that's placed right behind the trigger, the Tang safety is just way easier to use. It's way larger and it's easier to engage with the thumb than the push button safety. Both guns also have radically different forends, or at least somewhat radically. So the Mafteah has a forend that wraps around the barrel a bit, making it easier to avoid touching the hot barrel. The forend also comes slathered in M-lock slots to make accessories easier to attach. The Aftershock forend is fairly plain polymer. It's nothing really fancy. Both guns come with like a strap that's designed to essentially keep your hand on the forend so it doesn't slide in front of the gun while you're firing. On the Aftershock, the strap is held in by 4 screws, which can hit your hand if you hold it too far to the rear or too far forward. Now you could fix this by just removing the strap, which is what I will likely do. The Mafteah uses a strap that's mounted to the M-LOK slots, and it's also adjustable, so you can actually tighten it down, and that's what I really love about it, is that I can tighten it down and then I can push against it when I get a good push-pull-in to help fight recoil. Plus, no screws are hitting me in the hand. Now the pistol grips are very similar, and I've already kind of mentioned my push-pull method. I'm pushing forward on the gun while pulling rearward on the pistol grip. So the Aftershock has this little hook on its grip, which allows you to pull back on the grip a little bit easier and a little bit tighter. So the Mafteah offers a much better forend to push with. So ultimately what we get is the Aftershock makes it easier to pull, and the Mafteah makes it easier to push. If we were to combine the two, we'd probably have the world's best semi-auto firearm. Both of these firearms are optics ready, but the Mafteah has multiple options. We have the standard ability to toss a rail across the top of the gun and throw an optic on it, like any other gun. And on top of that, we have a Glock MOS compatible cut. This gives you the ability to mount a wide variety of optics to the gun, since there's a variety of MOS cut optic plates. Some don't even need plates. Optics from Holosun, for example, can require directly to the MOS system and sit very, very low. I really like my shotgun red dots to sit as low as possible on the gun. Now, Glock's MOS system has some kinks and some downsides, but since this isn't sitting on a reciprocating slide, a lot of those issues kind of disappear. Now, the Aftershock allows you to mount an optic to an attached rail, and that's it. It's fine, but I wish Mossberg used the same RMSC cut on the Aftershock they use with the 940 Pro Tactical. Now, keep in mind, the Mafteah is a brand new gun from a company that makes one other 12-gauge firearm that's fairly radical. Mossberg has a long history as a shotguns company, and the 990 Aftershock shares some DNA with the Mossberg 590. If you wanted to make a short-barreled shotgun when those tax stamps become free in, 24 days, you can use 590 stocks and pistol grips on the Aftershock. Now, beyond stocks, the 990 works well within Mossberg's well-known infrastructure. There are tons of upgrades ready right out of the box. So if you don't like the optics rail system, there are plenty of alternative mounts that sit the optic lower. There's the Scalarworks Sync mount, and then there's something like the Defender Tactical Co-Sight, which I helped design, just so you know, which is a better option than a Picatinny rail, and actually allows you to use Glock pistol sights as a co-witness backup to your red dot. So I don't make any money if you order that, by the way, but I wanted to throw that out there. So I went to the range with the Mafteah and Aftershock, and I fired a few drills to see how the guns perform side by side. I'm looking for accuracy, recoil, reliability, and ergonomics in action. So let's talk about accuracy and the fact these guns fire shotgun rounds and they don't have stocks. They're not, precision weapons, and we're not going to take them out to 100 yards and measure 5-shot groups. But I do want to show you something interesting. Mossberg tends to put their beads directly on the barrel, which makes it appear that their guns shoot high. There's kind of an old adage that if you're using a Mossberg with a bead shotgun, you aim at the belt buckle to hit them in the chest. So I used some really cheap bare bones buckshot at 10 yards, and I aimed dead center at an 8-inch target. So the Mossberg did hit high, just slightly, but it's notable, and it's going to be more noticeable when you're using slugs or around like flight control. The Mafteah uses an ultra nice, very good looking ventilated rib to raise the bead a little bit. This means the point of impact and point of aim are dead on. Now in terms of patterns, they're both fairly standard for a cylinder bore gun. It's like a 6.5 to 7-inch group at 10 yards. There's not really a big difference there to talk about. So let's talk about recoil. Whenever you talk about gas operated versus inertia, recoil is going to come up because inertia guns tend to have a little more recoil. So I shot the two guns side by side, and you can certainly feel that the Aftershock has less recoil. Even if it's still only slightly less, you do feel it and you do notice it. But I wanted to get something that's better than a feeling. I wanted to get a decent measurement of recoil, and so I fired some double taps at 10 and 15 yards as fast as I could using a shot timer to see if the recoil difference made a real difference when it came to time or accuracy. I shot these drills over and over, and what I did between each round is I would switch guns. So I would fire a double tap at 10 yards with the Mafteah, and then I would fire a double tap at 10 yards with the Aftershock, and I would go back and forth a few times. The main reason is I didn't want to get too good with one gun, and that might skew the times, especially if I got warmed up with one, So I just wanted to switch back and forth to see what kind of difference I could see. And truth be told, I didn't see a big difference at all. I could put 2 rounds on target with each gun in 0.8 of a second. And honestly, sometimes the Aftershock would be a little bit faster. Sometimes the Mafteah would be faster. And what I think helps the Mafteah in the recoil department is the superior forend and that strap that I can just really press against and get a good push-pull in. I think that makes a significant difference in how the gun controls, and without it, the Aftershock would probably have a real advantage. When it comes to inertia and gas systems, there's kind of an interesting give and take in the reliability department. So I shot a lot of different rounds through these guns testing them, and I've shot both of these guns extensively for my initial reviews. So for this range trip, I used the cheapest birdshot I can shoot, which was Monarch, and then Monarch buckshot, and then Federal reduced recoil buckshot, and then this ultra low recoil Fiocchi Defense Dynamics load. This load is 9 pellets of number 1 at 1250 feet per second. That is basically a 20 gauge load, and I really love it for these pistol grip only firearms because of its very light recoil, but still potent dose of number one pellets. So which gun's more reliable? Well, it kind of depends on how you define reliability. You guys saw how dirty my Aftershock was when I took it apart, right? Yeah, it's filthy. It's never been clean filthy. Gas-operated guns need to be cleaned to run reliably, and I'm up to about 700-ish rounds in the Aftershock, and it's just started to have problems. So at this range strip, I had 2 malfunctions where it failed to cycle the birdshot. Normally it eats that birdshot fine, but the gun really just kind of needs to be cleaned. It should probably be cleaned every 500 or so rounds to maintain good reliability. Now the Mafteah uses an inertia system, which is plenty reliable, but it can be ammo picky. Too light of a load can be an issue. And while it handled the Federal reduced recoil flight control 8 pellet buckshot at 1,145 feet per second, it cannot handle the Fiocchi 9 pellet number 1 buckshot load. Now it's kind of weird how it works or how it doesn't work. Sometimes it can shoot all 5 of the rounds without a problem. Other times, each round will give me a malfunction. So it's kind of odd, and I would just stay away from that load with the Mafteah. Now with that said, the Mafteah has been shot a lot by actually a lot of different people who were really interested in the gun when I showed it to them. And it's probably getting near that 700 round mark. It's definitely exceeded 500 rounds. However, it really isn't all that dirty, not at least compared to the Aftershock. Now to summarize, the Aftershock is more reliable over a diverse set of ammo types, but needs to be cleaned to remain reliable. The Mafteah appears to be the more reliable gun if you're not ever going to clean your gun, but does have stricter requirements for the ammo you're putting through it. So I guess it's up to you. Do you want to shoot more rounds and just clean the gun more often? Or if you hate cleaning guns, do you want a gun that just won't eat the lightest stuff to toss into it? Kind of lean towards the Aftershock because I really like those really low recoil rounds in a gun without a stock, but that's me. Tell me what you think below. Next, we're going to get to ergonomics. So to test ergonomics in action, I did a few reload drills. I did tube and port reloads. For the tube reload, I'd load 2 rounds into the gun, set the timer, fire 1, then reload 1 in the tube, and then fire 1 more to end the drill. Now what I noticed was that when I was reloading the Mafteah, the shell elevator would occasionally snag my thumb, and this really happened when I was going fast or trying to go as fast as I possible. I was really just jamming those rounds in the tube with some real aggression. That never occurred with the Aftershock. And when my thumb didn't get snagged, the times between the two were basically the same, but when it did get snagged, the Aftershock won. So next, I practiced some emergency ejection port reloads. I loaded 1 round into the chamber, started the timer, and fired. With the gun empty, I had to quickly throw a round into the chamber and fire again through the ejection port. With the Aftershock, it's easy, but you do have to go under the gun rather than over it, or your hand will get in the way of the charging handle when you hit the bolt release. With the Mafteah and its left side charging handle, I can go over the top, which I prefer, or I can go under the gun. But I've always been faster when I go over the top of the gun and hit the bolt release as soon as I drop the round into the chamber. With the Aftershock, I'm faster if I have to go under the bottom of the gun, but overall the Mafteah's over the top reload is the fastest option. Now, one downside to that left side charging handle is you can't use a side saddle, but for me, that's worth it. I really highly doubt I'll ever actually have to reload one of these guns if I turn to it for a defensive purpose, but hey, for some people that matters, and it matters a lot. So what about price? You can't really discuss those kind of things on YouTube, but the Mafteah wins in that competition by a slight margin. So at the end of the day, is one gun really better than the other? I don't really think so. I think both are great guns that have their pros and cons, like any other gun. Both are a ton of fun to shoot and work extremely well. Each one has its strengths and weaknesses, but they are a fair bit different. And different is good, and that means we have true competitors that are trying something different. Now, I do like both guns enough that I'm keeping both long term. I hope Mossberg and IWI keep pushing these guns forward and improving, and I hope the Aftermarket ultimately embraces both. Now, which one you'll pick kind of depends on what you favor most. I think the Aftershock is the better option if you want to make a short-barreled shotgun, because stocks and options already exist all around it. If you prefer a somewhat different, or dare I say more modern design, the Mafteah does offer that. And I do hope IWI kind of brings some stocks forward into the future, so this thing could be a short-barreled shotgun as well. So until then, I do want to know what you guys think about either gun. Is one better than the other in your opinion? Which would you choose? Are you crazy like me and you are going to invest way too much into what's essentially range toys? Let me know below. And thank you guys for watching. With the holidays coming up, I might be posting more intermittently. But hey, I think you guys are fine with that. Have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year's, but I'm sure I'll see you before that.